morning, everyone. We welcome you to another webinar in Unlock Purposeful Careers in Social Sector series. And today it's a webinar on talent management for social impact. And why we are doing these webinars? Because we thought that there is a need of understanding what kind of new emerging trends are happening in social sector, and what kind of new information is coming in with respect to different aspects of organization development. And being presenting these webinars through ISDM is also because it's a pioneering institute where we are working on building a curriculum for professionals to upscale themselves and become a better manager in social sector and understand the managerial aspect of it, because the kind of work we do and the kind of issues we solve in social sector are humongous, and it needs a lot of technical talent with management principles which need to combine together to solve a bigger problem. And hence we have done a lot different webinars in this series. Initially we did it on how to write a powerful uh, proposals, how to do fundraising, how can we use AI to manifest social change, and how we can use data driven approaches for driving the marketing strategies in the social sector. And today we are we will be discussing about talent management, as it is one of the most important pillars. We recruit a lot of people find a lot of job opportunities, but sometimes there's a mismatch or less understanding of what we should do. So today we have Diksha Punia with us. She leads the people management wing of ISDM, and she will be sharing her learnings, her practices, and how she think that talent management can bring a lot of potential if organizations understand how to recruit and where to recruit and what kind of skills are needed by the organizations in today's world. So I welcome Diksha in the webinar and I request her to uh, take it over from here. Thank you. And thank you everyone for joining us once again on a Saturday.
Thanks, Sanjana. Hello, everyone. It's nice to be here. We are going to talk about a lot of things. What I would like us to do is keep this as interactive as possible. I would request the ISDM team, if people raise hands or there are questions, just let me know because I could answer those. I don't want this to be a monologue. So let's keep it as interactive as possible. So as part of our webinar series, Unlocking Purposeful Careers in the Social Sector, we're going to talk about talent management, like Sanjana said. But I'd like to talk about a variety of things within this. Let me share the agenda. Today's agenda. What are the pillars of social impact? We'll talk about role of management education. We'll talk about talent management for social impact, and then careers in the social sector. So let's start with the first part, pillars of social impact. Would anybody like to talk about it? What are the pillars of social impact? Anyone? You can unmute yourself and talk about it. No? Should we move ahead? Okay. All right. There are three pillars of social impact: purpose, people, and partnership. A lot of you are already in the social sector. Now, you're there because you see a purpose there. You see that how you can contribute to social change. As human beings, it's very important for us to feel that we're making a change or we are contributing in a particular way. What does purpose do? It derives direction. It focuses on a particular thing, helps us focus on a particular thing, which helps us move forward. The other pillar is people, drives transformation. Without people, we cannot do anything. We need to have people with the right skill sets. We need to be able to hire people with the right skill sets who are purpose driven and who can contribute, who can give their 100% or more than that. So it's extremely important to have the right people in place. The third is partnership. Again, why is partnership an important pillar? We cannot do anything without others coming together. The Samaj Sarkar Bazaar It's a very important aspect. Just one of them cannot make a difference in the social sector. All three of them work together, we can make a huge difference. For anything to scale, the government is very important to work with the government. People are very important where we have to make the impact. The bazaar is important for a lot of funding that we get. So all these three are the main pillars of social impact. Let's move ahead. Purpose. Let's talk a little more about purpose. What is purpose? Why is purpose important? Purpose and meaningful work. All of us are looking for something to achieve, meaningful work that we are doing, especially in the social sector. Whatever we do, it needs to be aligned to our values, needs to give us personal fulfillment, and needs to be mission driven. Our careers in the social sector are mission driven. I think it helps us to understand what are we going to achieve, what is the difference that we are going to make. That's why. That is the reason you join the social sector. Growth and skill development, extremely important. When you're there, you want to build a career in the social sector. And why do you join the social sector? There's a lot of interdisciplinary learning that you get from one, a person working in programs would need to understand financial aspects, would need to understand how to deal with donors, would need to understand how to deal, in raising funds, or at least reporting, leadership and problem solving in the social sector. You learn it. Every district, every state is very different from the other. Every village is different. You can replicate programs from one to the other, but there are going to be differences. How do you solve those problems? How do you figure it out? You need to be thinking on your feet. It's extremely important. Build leadership skills. How do you take people along to make that difference? And then these skills are transferable. You can work in different thematic areas with the same skill sets. Collaboration and community engagement. We spoke about collaboration between Samaj Sarkar Bazaar, but it's very important to take the communities along. It's very important to have the communities bought into what changes that we want to bring in or what support that we are providing. How do we engage at the grassroots level? The policy level engagements that happen. There is a lot of passionate people, so like-minded people that you work with. That's what the social sector gives you. Cross-sectional sector partnerships, absolutely. Flexibility and innovation, adaptive work models. Like I said, you need to adapt the working models from one place to the other, from one state to the other. There might be similar problems. There might be similar things. Education, girl education. In Rajasthan, there might be different challenges. In UP, different. In the South, very different. How do you adapt these working models? It gives you that opportunity. Learning and growing. Creative problem solving again. You need to get very creative on how you're going to sort issues. Different challenges with people that you would face, resistance that you would face at different aspects. So it's very important that you understand these aspects. Growing demands and stability. The social sector is growing at a very fast pace. If I look at in 2019, the funding in the social sector was $200 billion. Today, the last figures that we got was for 2024, it was $300 billion. Niti Aayog says that still there is a deficit of $170 billion. So you see the growth that the social sector come in to do more. It's extremely important that people contribute, come into these careers and grow. There are a lot of opportunities for you to come in. Look at different career opportunities here. That's the reason you should join the social sector. To join the social sector, one of the most important things, people. Let's talk a little about people. The social sector thrives on human capital. We are the backbone of social impact. We cannot do anything without people. Unlike corporates, where capital and technology often play they drive success and play a very important role. Technology does play an important role here, so does funding. But just funding programs cannot help the social sector. It needs to have the right amount, right kind of people Strong foundational leadership, collaboration, sustainability, innovation. All these things are extremely important for us to be able to grow. Technology, absolutely. It's the changing world. Technology does play an important role. But unless until there are the right people, it cannot do much. For example, during the COVID times, schools were closed during lockdown. Education was really hampered across the country. Private schools were able to, convert things online, were able to provide education to the students, whereas government schools were really suffering. How did technology help there? For example, SRF Foundation, they converted lessons, they provided phones with good cameras to their teachers who recorded lessons. And these lessons were available for students to go through. But what we needed people still, we needed the teachers to record these lessons. We needed SRF Foundation folks to come in, think of these ideas, and provide this so that the education is not hampered. It didn't happen across the country, but yes, certain parts of the country were really helped with this aspect. Building strong teams. Now, people is one aspect. How do you make them into a team? How do you build a strong team? And what does a strong team mean? Now, building a strong team has various aspects to it. I'll focus on some of the main aspects that I look at while building a strong team. As an individual, what do you need? You need formal education, the foundational knowledge. People in the social sector now come from a variety of backgrounds. We see, as part of our development management program also, we see people coming from engineering background, from science background, from the political science, the social work background. So there are a lot of places where you can do your education, graduation or post graduation, and this will really help us. Then there is experiential learning to navigate real world problems. There are grassroots level fellowships. There's hands-on work that you need. Experience is extremely important. Once you've had the formal education, experience helps you move forward. Leadership development for long-term impact. You get into an organization. How do you get into a leadership role? How can leadership be built? How can you get that knowledge? There are a lot of programs in that also. There's the Dasra Social Impact Leadership Program. There's Britspan Leadership Accelerator. There are a variety of programs. Then there is continuous technical skill building. We see a lot of change with AI coming in now. We don't know how things are going to evolve. How do we enhance our skills? Also, while we are working in the social sector, as we move in different roles, we need to build skills on different aspects. For example, program management. It's a key skill across, it's not just for one role. I believe program management is needed across any role that you do. Donor relationships, grant writing, theory of change. Things are evolving. How do we build these skill sets? For an organization to build strong teams, these are key aspects. Development management plays a very important role here. It brings all these together. The aim is to bring in these skill sets, the four parts of bringing strong teams together and bridge the gap. Before I go to the next section, any questions anyone has? No? Should we move ahead? All right. Let's talk about the role of management education. And you must be wondering, why am I talking about it here? We've seen that business management has played a very important role in business in building our country. In the last 60, 70 years, India has really grown. We've become an economically stable country. In fact, an economic superpower that we've become. We become resilient, we've become self-sustainable, and business management has played a very important role in our growth in the last 50, 60 years. And it's important for us to talk about that, acknowledge the fact of what business management has done for our country. And it's important to understand how development management can do that same thing for the social sector. All of us being here, aim is to grow the social sector. Aim is to see how we can sustain and grow organizations, scale organizations. So let's talk a little about this. Role of management education shaping corporate India versus the social sector. How corporate India has changed. I'm not sure if you know that the first management institute was set up in Calcutta in 1953. It was called the Indian Institute of Social Welfare and Business Management. The aim was to bring in management principles in the business world as well as the social sector. But for some reason, the corporate world picked it up and moved ahead. And it did not thrive in the social sector at that point of time. After that, the IIMs came up in 1961, the IIM Ahmedabad and Calcutta, and they are leading institutes globally. And they've shaped business management or the corporate world in a great way in our country. What have they done? They've professionalized leadership. How? They've built a pipeline of corporate leaders with structured management education. Leadership is extremely important. If you have a good leader, they can lead you to a variety of places for growth. It's extremely important. Economic and organizational growth. Trained professionals, strategy, finance, operations. It's a cut across all industries within the corporate sector. Also, organizational growth. How can organizations grow and scale? We've seen a lot of organizations in India grow and scale. Look at Reliance, where they were, where they are today. Be it the Tatas, a lot of organizations, and these are all Indian organizations which have grown. They've not been foreign organizations. Yes, a lot of MNCs have come into India, but these are organizations which have grown in India. Fostering entrepreneurship and innovation. A lot has happened in our country. Entrepreneurship. Look at Infosys. What Narayan Murthy did. He was like you, a lot of us, coming from a middle class background. He was able to build a world class organization. Infosys is known everywhere in the world. What they are doing is amazing work. That is what entrepreneurship is. Innovation, building up centers, building up a lot of innovation in different aspects. Look at Zomato, Flipkart, a lot of these Indian organizations have come up. That is what management education has done for our country. We are competing with organizations globally. A lot of these organizations have their presence globally. They're doing work across the world. The last is the ethical and sustainable practices, encouraging CSR. There is a percentage of money that comes from CSR nowadays. A lot of work that the CSR is doing across the social sector. ESG, sustainable business models, sustainable practices, what can be done? Is the corporate sector reached a place where we can say that, they are not harming the country? They are in certain ways. But are they making efforts to make that change? Absolutely. There's a lot more that they can do. But here we are going to talk more about how management has helped them grow and reach a place which the social sector needs to get into. How can this help the social sector? Again, develop leaders, specialized programs, development management can help you with that. Strengthen our organization, capacity building. We need to grow. Governance. Governance is a key challenge we see for organizations to be able to scale. Financial sustainability. We are always dependent on funds. How can we become financially sustainable? Again, monitoring and evaluation is there, but do we measure impact? I think it's very important for us to be able to measure impact. It's going to be long term, but it's important that we measure impact. It can support a lot in entrepreneurship. It doesn't have to be only not for profit, but for profit social purpose organizations. It's extremely important that we have those also. It can promote cross sector learnings, bring in, bridge the gaps between Samaj Sarkar Bazaar, which are still big gaps. We are working together, but I think we can do much more. And at the policy and systems level, no doubt, there's a lot that can be done. What is the role of development management in building resilient organizations? As you know, ISDM has a program in development management. We are the only institute across the globe which runs a program in development management. We are the first ones to start it. There are a lot of things that development management can do, can teach you. It can impact, it's not just one type of organization, grassroots level organizations, foundations, ecosystems, consulting organizations. And what can it do? It builds resilient, strong organizations. more accountability in organizations. It helps you scale, puts partnerships and collaborations in place. It helps you design, implement, and manage for social change and put programs which can help you grow. That's what development management does. All right, I'll stop here. I want to see if there are any questions, if this is making sense to people or not. The group is very quiet today. No questions?
So
Any
people
thoughts?
are
Any comments?
responding on this may on the chat box.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anybody would like to add something, share their thoughts?
No, we can go ahead.
Okay, all right, okay. Talent management for social impact. We're going to talk about two parts within this. The strategies for building,
Diksha,
yeah,
sorry, I stopped you here because there is one question that there is a lot of noise on shrinking careers in social sector due to funding. So that is the first question asked by Anil.
all right.
And Diksha, also Abhishek Kumar has a hands up. So once you are done with Anil Kumar's question, you can speak
Sure,
to Abhishek.
sure, Simran. All right. So there is a lot of noise with the Trump administration coming in the US. There's been a huge impact with USAID funding going away. Other countries are reducing their funding. So absolutely, there are going to be funding challenges. But there is a lot of other funding that is coming in. The government is moving funds into the social sector. What they were already doing. Uh, I don't think there will be a lack of opportunities. There will be some impact initially because with funding going away from USAID till the time there's a replacement that comes in, there will be some impact. Also, with the government, having a lot of focus on the funding coming into right places, the international funding, FCRA funding. There's been challenges there where the government is looking at it very closely where it's going, the funding going. But these are initial setbacks or just setbacks right now. The careers are not going to shrink. Like I said, we've grown from $200 billion to $300 billion right now. And this will increase. The requirement will increase. There are a lot of organizations, CSR funding, and high net worth individuals who want to contribute, even though their percentage is very small compared to what the public funding is, public sector funding is, or the government funding is. But there is going to be more funding coming in. Initially is going to be a challenge, but yes, this will change soon. Somebody had their hand up. Let me answer that, and then I'll go to the other ones.
Abhishek's hand was up. Abhishek Kumar, would you like to ask or say something? I think he's mentioned this question in the chat box itself,
All
Diksha.
right. How to integrate the social and management sector for larger interests. So it's not the management sector. Abhishek, I'm assuming you're saying the corporate sector. Is that what it is? Abhishek, if you can unmute yourself and please explain the question. You're saying the corporate sector. All right. So, like I said, we need to bridge the Samaj Sarkar Bazaar. That's extremely important. We are working together, but there's a lot more that needs to be done. How do we integrate social and management sector? How do we integrate that? By working together, by looking at how we can get more people involved in the social sector. The awareness has increased in the past years. uh, about the social sector, about opportunities in the social sector, about the work that can be done. We see a lot of professionals from the corporate sector coming in to the social sector. ISDM is doing a little work. It's if I look at the larger picture, it's very small, but yes. For example, we run a WOB program, a Women's on Board program, which the aim is to bring in women from the corporate sector onto boards into the social sector, how they can contribute. Can you integrate it completely? No, you can't. Can you learn from what the corporate sector has done? How we can customize that into the social sector? Absolutely. There are ways that we're doing that. Our program, that's the reason we've been talking about the development management program. The aim is to see how those management principles, which have really worked well for the corporate sector, can be customized, bring in development perspective, and bring it into the social sector for us to be able to scale and sustain a lot of things. The challenges, identifying the challenges that are there. Compliance, for example, is a huge challenge in the social sector from a scalability perspective. We've not focused on that, the smaller organizations especially. How do you sustain that? Also, systems thinking. How can you look at a problem from a systems lens? Just one aspect, one NGO working in a particular area, for example, girl education. It's not just about parents not sending their girls. What is it impacting them from sending their girls for education? There are a lot of things. How can we work together? How can we integrate these aspects? How can we learn from what the corporates have done to grow, to really build businesses? How can we learn that? If you look at in the corporate sector, one business starts up, for example, telecom. A telecom company starts up. What does it build around it? It builds a number of other organizations which come in to support it. There is, somebody will be putting the poles for, putting the machinery for telecom. There will be organizations which will need equipment for it. So a whole industry gets built around it. That's what the corporate has done. How can we do similar things within the social sector? How can organizations work together? SPOs work together in solving one problem, be it girl education. What are the different aspects of it? Look at it as a systemic problem and identify different parts of it. So that's how we can make that change. Abhishek, anything else that you'd like to add? All right.
Diksha, I think we missed one question.
No, I'm going to that only now.
Okay.
If you can add some elements of social enterprises in line with whole development sector. There are a lot of social enterprises that are coming up. And are you asking about different social enterprises that can come up, or if you can explain your question, please? Vijender, if you could unmute yourself, please, and explain.
Yeah, thank you. So I'm looking at that there is a new turn around social enterprise are picking up. So that's what I was keen to hear your opinions on the social entrepreneurship turn taking it, the whole sustainable models, the big, like business models integrating with social aspects.
Sure. So
Thank you.
a lot of social enterprises are coming up. Waste warriors who are there. There is a lot on waste management, for example. These are social enterprises. They are for profit. They might not be making the profit the way we would look at in the corporate sector, but they are sustainable. They are able to sustain themselves and make some amount of profit, which they use in growing themselves. So now models, again, I won't be able to get into what sort of models will work there because that's not the focus, but there are a lot of these coming up. There are, organizations which have come up building sanitary napkins from sustainable material, again for profit. The waste management I already spoke of. So there are a lot of organizations which are coming up. which want to do work. They are social enterprises. The impact is in making change in the social in the social sector, not in the social, but overall change. So there are a lot of organizations which are coming up now. Models, Jindru, we'll have to go through that in probably a different section. Maybe Sanjana, you guys can organize something to talk about that, for social enterprises. But there's huge scope for it, where we can bring in organizations come in and set up to make a change. Any other questions before we move ahead?
Can I ask something again?
Yeah,
In
sure. Please
relation
go
to the
ahead.
same.
Yeah.
So I was looking at the perspective of the social enterprise, the management, or like the way they operate. Social enterprise is a little different. So how the talent management, or like entire kind of a direction we are going to take in the development sector. So that kind of association I was looking at from you, actually.
So, for me, talent management, doesn't change from being a social enterprise or being a for profit or not for profit. We need to build talent across. And even if you look at talent in corporates, how do you build talent? It's finding the right people who can come and contribute. In for profit, again, it's more about profitability, but talent needs to be encouraged, talent needs to be developed to grow within the sector. uh, so creating an organization, bringing the right kind of people who can contribute from different aspects and specialized skills. It's important to get the specialized skills. A generic person coming in would take much longer to understand and grow. So it's important to bring in the right kind of people for the right kind of roles. And that's any organization that you need to build, you need to bring the right kind of people. Does this answer your question? I'm not sure if I'm getting your question correctly.
Yeah, maybe I can reach out again. That's not.
Okay, sure.
Yeah,
All right.
thank you.
Any other questions? Simran, we'll move ahead.
Yes, Diksha.
Okay. All right. Talent management for social impact, strategies for building high impact teams. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about leadership development in the social sector. Now, as part of the strategies for building high impact, there are 3 aspects to this, and I'm going to talk about those right now. Attracting and retaining mission-driven talent. As we initially spoke about purpose, it's very important within the social sector that people are very purpose-driven. In fact, that's how people come into the social sector. They're very purpose-driven. But it's important for us to attract the right talent. People who come with a certain educational background, with management degree if possible, or with specialized degrees that are there, be it in policy, be it in leadership development, MSW. There are a lot of courses that are there with different organizations. So we need to focus on finding the right talent in terms of skill sets, motivation, financial incentives, salaries play an important role, but they are not the only drivers for people to come and work. All of you are working in the social sector. Money is very important, no doubt, but it is the mission that drives you, that brings you here, the contributions that you can make. So it's important to find the right people to come and join organizations, because only then they will be able to contribute. Now, once they come into the organization, how do you engage talent? As leaders and as HR people, it's very important for us to build a culture which is conducive, which encourages people to work together, collaborate, build connections, and a commitment to the mission. That is how you engage people for them to stay within an organization. The third part here is developing talent. People have come in, they engage, but how do you build their skill sets? And in the changing environment today, there's so much of change, And like I mentioned, for example, AI coming in, a lot of careers will be redundant. A lot of things would change. How do we build skill sets within the teams? How do you build leadership skill sets? And leadership doesn't mean that the skill set needs to be only at the senior level. At every level, leadership is important. How do you build capacity and enhance? How do we train our people? That's what we need to focus on in developing the talent in various ways. Once we've done these three, how do you retain people? When a person joins an organization, it takes them at least 6 months to settle in, understand the organization. Only then they are able to contribute. How can we make sure that people stay in an organization for at least a few years? Nowadays, you see a lot of people come in for a year and a half and move. Are they really contributing? Are they really making a change? They aren't. You need to spend some time in the organization to be able to contribute, to be able to grow, to be able to learn. That's very important. So the onus is on organizations to make sure that they're able to retain talent. They are able to grow them, engage them. Why do people leave? Because they're not engaged. They don't see growth opportunities. So as leaders, social sector leaders, it's important for us to be able to do that, to retain people. Inclusive workspace, and we'll talk about this more in the next section, but it's very important for us to have diversity within teams. Diversity plays a very important role from learning, and let's talk a little more about in the next section. Inclusive workplace, how does diversity help? So diversity in hiring, how does diversity help? It's important for us to get people from different states, different backgrounds, gender. It's important to balance that in every organization. People coming from different backgrounds, for example, people working in villages or living in villages, living in cities, there are different perspective that they bring in, different learnings that they bring in. So it's important, as when we are hiring people, we look at all these aspects. This enriches the work culture. Our perspectives might be different from people coming from different backgrounds. Again, in terms of gender balance, it's important to have that different perspectives again that people bring in. And it's learning that we get from peers, which is important. When you have a workplace which has diversity, you get learnings from each one of us. We learn peer level learning, which is important. Equitable opportunities. How can we provide to this inclusive workplace? What will inclusive mean? That we provide them equal opportunities. In a lot of places, you see there's a difference in terms of pay for different genders. Now, that is not equitable. How can we be fair? How can we provide equal opportunities for everyone on every aspect, be it caste, be it gender, be it race, religion, anything? How do we provide equal opportunity, career opportunities for all our employees? That's very important. Psychological safety. What does this mean? Having a safe working environment. Safe doesn't mean just safety, physical safety, but it means safety from, a safe space to share your ideas, to share your thoughts. Unless until we provide that, how are we going to learn from each other? How are there going to be ideas which are going to come in? A person who's coming from a village would understand what the challenges there are compared to a person living in a city. If we don't hear them out and we are going to work at the grassroots level, how would you understand the challenges if you're not providing a safe space for them to share their ideas? So, without the fear of bias or without the fear of judgment, how can we create a culture which allows this? Then comes to our policies. Our policies need to be inclusive. They need to be accessible to everybody. They need to have, they need to be made in such a way that they encourage people from in working. I'll give you an example, and this comes up very often about women. Women have different challenges that are there. Just providing a maternity leave, for example, is not enough. She's going to leave her child and come into the workplace. She's going to manage her household. She's going to manage her family. Now, are our policies inclusive to accommodate that? They are not, because the policies have been made in a certain way. Are we working towards it? Absolutely. A lot of organizations have started giving a period leave. A woman, it's a fact, would have a period every month, would face difficulties during that time. Have we incorporated that in our policies? No, we haven't. We don't even look at it. But now, slowly, these aspects have started coming in. That way, there are a lot of challenges that are there. Are our policies inclusive? It's very important for us to look at that. Empowerment and leadership. Providing equal training opportunities, leadership opportunities, growth opportunities. If I look at the social sector, 53% of the sector is women working there, but only 34% are at leadership roles. What does that tell us? That women are not growing at the same pace as men are. There are more opportunities, more leaders, men leaders than women. And let's forget about the other genders. That's still a big challenge. Acceptance is a big challenge that we're still, trying to figure out how it's going to be there. But we need to make policies which will support each and every individual, will give them the equal opportunity, understanding their challenges, and then moving ahead. Any questions here? Any thoughts here before we move ahead? Let's move ahead. All right. Let's talk about the growth with purpose cycle. We've spoken a little about all this. How can we align employee development with social impact goals? We talk about mission driven. We, talk about the careers here being very impact oriented. How do we align, the growth of our individuals, our people, to this, to the social impact goals? I've created a growth with purpose cycle here to talk about it. Define career paths. Now, a lot of times I hear that, there is no career path that people see. Why do the people leave organizations? Because they don't see a career path. They don't see where are they going next. And this becomes a huge challenge within the social sector because our focus is to do good. But a lot of times we forget about our own people. We are doing good for the beneficiaries, for people, but the people who are working in the organizations, we tend to forget about them. So how can we create career paths for them? How can we show them growth? And this will help us in our retention also. So it's important that we integrate social impact with their career paths, with the opportunities. What does that mean? For example, you're doing a particular role. As you grow, how will your impact increase? You're working at the grassroots level. As you grow, how does your impact increase? As you grow, the scope of your role might increase. You might be handling one team. You might be increasing it to multiple teams or multiple projects. We need to show those career paths to our people. Again, provide learning on the job as well as training programs. For example, ISDM does a program called result-based program management. How does that help you? It helps you, in program management, which is result-based. You know what the results are going to be. It's important that you do programs like that. There are a lot of other programs that the sector has. It's important for you to see what is it that you need, where do you need the learning. Some of the learnings the organizations will provide, but others you need to own your own growth. And then speak to the organization saying that this is what I need to do and this is how it's going to help. And how do you measure impact? See, all of us, it's important for us to know how we've made a difference. In the social sector, it's very difficult because the change is very long term. Anything that we're doing is not going to show us immediate change. It might show us small changes, but the impact is going to be long term. How do we measure the impact for us to get that gratification that we've made a change? So it's important that these aspects are also looked at. Foster mentorship. It's important that you have right mentors within the organization. On the job learning can only happen well if there are mentorships. Some things you learn on your own, others you need guidance to learn. You need people to reinforce that what you're doing is right or help you improve different aspects of your learning. So it's important to encourage knowledge sharing between leaders. Over a period of time, people learn a lot. How can they share their experiences? How can they share what challenges they faced and how those challenges can, you can overcome those challenges so that you don't have to reinvent the wheel every time. So it's very important these aspects are taken care of. Link performance matrices. What does this mean? Connect success, organization impact to personal growth. Again, if you can see how the organization is making an impact, how your organization is making an impact, and what your contribution in that is, it will really help. If you look at a large puzzle, each piece has a part to play in that puzzle. It's important for you to know which piece you are and how you grow within the organization. So link performance to that. Encourage innovation. Again, innovation is something should always be encouraged. How do you do differently? How do you do better? There are a lot of things. People have a lot of thoughts. People coming from diverse backgrounds, diverse experiences come with different thoughts. How can that be brought in? How can we encourage people to share their thoughts, to share different views? It's not necessary that, with just one view, things would change, but different people sharing it, bring it together. Collective knowledge would help us make changes. So that's important. The growth with purpose cycle encourages that. That's what it defines also here. Any questions again? Thoughts, questions? Anything people would like to share on these aspects? What do you think is happening in the social sector? Anything that you like to see to happen in the social sector? No, we'll move ahead. Simran, we'll move ahead.
Diksha, can I say something?
Yeah, please.
So recently, I have been associated with multiple organizations. So there is a strategic objective kind of adoption, the kind of a framework, strategic objective, KPIs and KRAs. So
Yes.
I somehow feel that like that is not yet evolved so much for suiting to development sector.
Mhm.
So would that be in that kind of thing? So would it be so much relevant to all this? So does
Okay.
it, I mean, like that, does that framework has a limitation or like somehow I sense that like what you are also trying to mention here, like the performance metrics, how closely we associate with POC or like impact metrics is something I'm looking for your perspective on that.
Sure. Vijender, it's a very important question that you've brought in. So I don't know which one is your organization using, but absolutely there are certain ones which are there in which we've picked up from the corporate sector, which are for very evolved organizations, and those don't work, in the social sector. For example, the OKR, the objectives, result areas, it's not worked very well because, especially with growing organizations, but I still feel the KPIs or KRAs are very important for every individual. How that helps is KPIs are key performance indicators and KRAs are key result areas. Now, how these can be used in social purpose organizations is for individuals especially, to understand what are their deliverables and for you to be able to measure. Like I said, that the impact that we create, might not show immediately, or the changes that the contribution that we are making might not show in, the overall work, but in smaller aspects. So, for example, if you had to set up a program, you had to set up a team. So there are different key result areas that you can define, which will help you say that, okay, these were the 5 things I had to do this quarter, big aspects. And what have I been able to do? And where do I need support? Or where do I need help? Or what are the skill sets that I can build? Right now, a lot of organizations don't use this. What happens is that it's not structured then. An individual's growth is not structured. An individual doesn't understand what they're doing well, what they are not, and what support do they need. Also, it doesn't help individuals align to the organizational vision. A KPI is a key result indicator. It should always, the way organization should make it is that there needs to be organization wide KPIs. Now they get drilled down into team wise, and then or vertical wise, and then team wise. And that's very important. That way, as an individual, I know where am I contributing. We might not be able to use the traditional models that are there, but it's important we take some aspects of those and build our own, where we are able to put our quarterly goals, then see what have we been able to achieve in our quarterly goals. If we've not been able to achieve, what is it that we were not able to achieve, and why, and what support can be given for us to be able to achieve. Also, let's see what is the deviation from what we set our goals at, and where are we end of the quarter. If there is a lot of deviation, that means our planning wasn't accurate. So there are a lot of aspects that you can see from it. That's why it's very important for us to be able to do that. Linked performance matrices talks about that from a understanding from a high level goal to a individual goal also, and how we can feel a sense of achievement by seeing these. Vijendra, hope this answers your question. Any follow-up question there?
No, not for now. Thank you, Diksha.
All right. Anyone else? All right, let's move ahead. Next aspect, we come to leadership development in the social sector. Why is it important to develop leadership in any sector, and especially in the social sector? Let's look at it. We need to empower leaders for transformative social impact. It's very important. Some of these aspects we've spoken about, but I'd like to speak about this in the context of leadership, community-centered leadership. Now, we work a lot with the communities at the grassroots level. How do we build leadership there of the community? We talk about inclusivity, engagement there. We have people who come from educated backgrounds. Not necessarily at the community level, people would have the same level of education or exposure. How do we transfer skills? How do we help them build leadership there? Like I earlier said, leadership doesn't come with just years of experience. You might have been a leader in your college also. These are skill sets that every person needs to build. The scale might be different of your sphere of influence, but these are skills that are very important at every level. So how do you build community-centered leadership? Then ethical and adaptive leadership. Again, ethics plays a very important role, and more in the social sector. We hear a lot of things here. How can we be ethical in every aspect, not only financial, but even how we look at people? Ethics plays a role there also. And adaptive, training leaders to be able to understand what the changes are happening and how do we quickly adapt to them. How do we change? Maybe if you're running a program in a particular way and you see it's not making sense, how do you adapt to it to making a change? Sustainability is very important. How do you sustain and grow? How do we make processes which we can repeat again, so that we don't invent the reinvent the wheel again? So it's very important, these aspects. So adaptive leadership plays an important role. Cross sector collaboration between Samaj Sarkar Bazaar, within that is one. There is collaboration within thematic areas that needs to be there. How do we build that? For any project to be successful, it cannot happen in isolation. For any village to develop, it cannot happen in isolation. That's just one aspect. There we change. How can we work with other social purpose organizations working in the same area to collaboratively make that change within that community? So that's very important. And for us to scale anything, we need support from the government. We need the Samaj Sarkar Bazaar to work together. Next, coming to skills for leading change. Strategic thinking is extremely important. Looking at the larger picture, the bigger picture, how do we plan for that? What is the end goal? How do we take each step at a time to reach that end goal? But that planning needs to be there for us to be thinking on a long-term basis. 5, 10 years, how do we want to plan? Yes, things change. And I understand in the social sector, it gets difficult because of changing environments or changing focus sometimes. There might be a disaster that might come in. We'll have to change our focus. But still, planning is very important for us and to build those skills in leaders for them to be able to plan. A lot of our organizations are founder run. How can we enable the next level of leadership? How can we grow the organizations? The founders have been able to bring the organization to a certain level. Can they take it to the next level? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe they need to bring in people who have seen growth, who have seen scaling of organizations, who can bring those skill sets or train our people to do that. I'll give you some examples in at least the corporate sector that has happened. There are organizations which reach a certain level, and these are examples which are there. There are case studies like, Sun Microsystems was one of those. The founders were removed by the board there because they had brought the organization to a certain level and they couldn't scale it after that. They needed other skill sets to come in to be able to do that. Now, can our founders in the social sector recognize this and themselves? I've seen a lot of organizations doing it, a lot of founders who've moved out. Fields of View, for example, the founders decided that they brought the organization to a certain level. For them to scale and to grow, the founders had to move out. That's what they brought in the leadership change. It's important that we are able to identify this. Otherwise, the transformation will not happen. And that doesn't mean that every founder has to move out. But depending on where the organization has reached, what level they've reached, are the founders becoming a deterrent or they're still able to grow the organization? Absolutely, if they're able to grow it, absolutely they should continue. And what influence that they can provide. Founders have played a very important role in the social sector. So we have to see how we can continue to leverage that. Coaching and mentoring. Again, very important role of coaching and mentoring. A lot of people learn from their leaders. If you realize that you pick up styles of your leaders. So it's important that there's proper coaching and mentoring. Leaders also are very cautious of what they are teaching their teams and how they're teaching them. Also, teaching their teams to be adaptive, teaching their teams to learn and pick up what makes sense to them. So, and building different groups within the organization. Peer learning, there is learning from mentors, mentorship. So these are important aspects in terms of transformative, to build leadership within the social sector. Again, I'll stop to see if there are any questions before we go to careers in the social sector. Any questions, any thoughts? All right, I'll move ahead with careers in the social sector. A lot of you are already in the social sector, so you're aware of the different careers, but I just thought I'll talk a little about it. The different categories that are there. So we've got the direct impact and grassroots, the social worker, the community organizer, program manager, There are careers in the research, policy, advocacy space, in capacity building and training, impact measurement and assessment. Again, this is an area which is really growing right now. With funding coming in from different places, it's important for us to be able to measure impact and assess on how we are doing. The monitoring evaluation has been happening, but how do we measure impact? And it's long term. So what are we doing? So a lot of opportunities are opening up in this area. Fundraising and resource mobilization, this will always be a key area. Raising funds and also reporting, grant writing, CSR, a lot of areas within this. Social entrepreneurship and innovation. Again, like Vijendra was asking around social entrepreneurship, a lot of social enterprises are coming up. And these are for profit, but they will make a huge change. A lot of these are coming up, and a lot of opportunities are going to come in this area. Communication and advocacy. Communication plays an important role in showing what is being done by organizations, in communicating the right information to funders for them to be able to see the impact that is being created and how funding can come in further. Then leadership roles. Leadership roles in program, in strategy, in innovation, governance, a lot of roles which are coming up. And with new organizations or organizations growing and scaling, these will continue to happen. Any questions here? Should we move ahead? All right, okay. Now I'd like to talk a little about development management and why in the context of ISDM and our program. And it's important for people to understand the importance of development management, how this plays, plays an important role in building the sector. We spoke about the corporate sector versus the development sector. In the corporate sector, how they've scaled, how they've grown, how India's become an economic superpower in the past, 50, 60 years, that the work that has been done. How can development management grow the sector, and what our program entails? The careers that I spoke about in this, if you look at this, most of these categories, development management plays a very important role, except at the direct impact and grassroots level, where again, as a program manager, development management will play a role, but in the rest of the aspects, development management plays a very important role in different aspects. So let's see what development management is. It's a program which bridges development and management. The principles of development along with the principles of management. And what ISDM has done is that we've brought in experts, be academic or practitioners from both the sectors, and have them create the program, which integrates development principles with the management concepts. That is what development management is. Because the way the social sector works, or the challenges, the issues that are there, are very different from what the corporates had. So when business management was started, it was based on how to increase profitability, how to efficiently work. Ultimate goal was to increase profitability, but how do you get there? It's not just by cutting costs or by reducing things, but what is the most structured way of getting there? How can we customize management principles for the development sector? And that is what development management is. Why ISDM? Why should you join ISDM? It's a one-year program. Like I said, it brings in management concepts with development perspective. You understand you're taught a variety of things. You don't need to, professionals must navigate non-linear challenges, diverse geographies, and varied cultural contexts. Working in the social sector, you see this all the time. There are cultural contexts that are there. Each geography has a different challenge. Development management helps you understand the dynamic and complex environment and how you can make a change. It enables you, there are things that we teach you as part of the program: systems thinking, design thinking, fundraising, different aspects, and how to, design and implement for scale. We talk about scale. We talk about how do you scale programs. So there is a number of things as part of the program that we teach. Also, if you are not a social sector professional, then how does it help you to understand the context of the social sector? There is something called Realizing India, where students are sent on a two-week trip to a village to identify the challenges there and then come and design interventions. So that gives you the grassroots level understanding of what's happening there, on the ground, what's happening. So it's very important that you understand before you design interventions. Otherwise, it's very easy for us to sit here and say, oh, these are the challenges. Unless until you go there and understand those challenges, you will not be able to do any work. So that's what the program is designed as. You need to be a graduate. It can be any domain. We've seen a lot of engineering graduates coming in. We get a lot of people from, the political science background, even doctors coming into the program. So you can be a graduate from any domain. Like I said, it's an 11-month program. It's a certification program. Our campus is in Noida. The process, there's an online test, there's an interview. That's what the process is for the program. I'll stop here. Sanjana, anything else that you'd like to add?
No, Diksha, I think it is you have covered all the aspect of it. If there are any further questions, feel free to ask. Then we will be wrapping it up in another 10-12 minutes.
If you have questions on anything, please feel free to ask the questions. Not just on the program, but otherwise also. But you're more than welcome to ask questions on the program.
You can even ask about vacancies in ISDM. You can ask anything.
Yes, we have a lot of career opportunities at ISDM. All our opportunities are put on our website. If you're keen on joining ISDM, please go through those opportunities and you can apply to us. Any questions, people? Any thoughts, any comments?
Any last thoughts on the webinar? You can even share your feedback on the webinar so that we can also improve next time.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Any feedback which will help us improve? Or anything more that you'd like to know as part of our webinar series, please do put it here.
Yeah.
We could, incorporate that for our next webinars.
Yes. Abhishek, I think knowledge management is emerging as a career in social sector space.
Absolutely. In fact, we have, our knowledge vertical at ISDM called the Global Knowledge Hub, where the aim is for us to produce action research. We do a lot of research work there. We've got some different center of excellences there. And the aim is how we can influence the ecosystem with the research work that we are producing. It's not academic research, it's action research, which we come up with a lot of frameworks, a lot of models which social purpose organizations can use. Recently, we've launched our data maturity model, which organization can use to understand where they are from a data perspective. Absolutely, use of AI in the social sector. Would you like a series on webinars on this topic? Absolutely.
Sure.
I did one last time.
Yes,
Sanjana?
we did. We are doing a couple of more sessions on AI. We'll share the information with you, Abhishek, to make a case study on, to make it more easy to relate. It would be good to make a case study on these kind of sessions.
Okay. All right. So you're saying that more, examples for people to understand, to relate to different aspects. Okay.
And what is ISDM's iLoft seems a good initiative. If you can expand it, please.
ILOFT. I'm just trying to. Anil, where have you seen this?
Feel free to unmute yourself and share. Simran, can you help in unmuting him if there's a problem?
I have shared the request with him, but he needs to unmute himself in order to speak.
I got a link from a friend and I found the webinar very interesting. How can I register for upcoming webinars? Pratap, can you leave your email ID here so that we can send you the requests for upcoming webinars? They are happening every alternative Saturday. So next will be next to next Saturday.
Anil, we'll get back to you on this ILOFT.
Yes, and
Not
also
able to
Pratap,
place it.
you can follow our social media Insta account also to be updated with all the sessions and webinars happening across, because there are
Yes.
many verticals at ISDM and every one or the other keeps a webinar or a session coming every now and then. So whatever suits you well, you can join that from there.
Sure. And Abhishek will send you all the links of different sessions. We have created an this can what we say playlist on YouTube. So all the post recorded sessions are also there. Simran Pratap has shared his email ID and Anil is saying that NetWest Libraries platform is I love.
Yeah, so Anil, can you share your ID also? I can connect you with
It's
Sajid
my
from
love for
NetWest.
library access. Yeah. So can you expand on that, Deeksha? Yeah.
Uh, was my law for library, yes. So this is a online library that we've created for, and it has you can get access to it free of cost across the sector. People can get access to it. Yes, absolutely, it's a very good initiative. There is a lot of information that you can get there. uh, you don't have to be physically present. We do have a physical library also, but if anybody needs access to it, please reach out to us and we can create an ID for you to access it.
Thanks, Diksha. Yeah, and if you have attended the India Fellow webinar yesterday, and from there you learned about it, then we will be sending you an email ID to get connected with the person who can help you get access to the library, as well as various customized GPTs we have created for the social sector professionals. Uh, Simran, can I request you to copy all the email IDs so that we can send them these information? And
Already done.
irrespective, okay, thank you. And irrespective of you have attended the AI session or not, we will send you the link of the AI session and also how you can access the library or how you can know about it. We'll share some of those details as well so that you can understand what are the kind of offerings ISDM has. And once you also enroll for a program, any program at ISDM, what all it what all it offers to the people who participates in it. So it would be good to share it with all of you, not from the perspective of you becoming an applicant, but also from a perspective of you working in the sector. And you can also share this with people who might get benefited of our programs. So that will really be one of the biggest support you can give it to us. Uh, and it will be really helpful for reaching out to more and more people and telling them about what we are doing and how we can support the sector ecosystem.
Rajakumar, we will send details to you Simran, please note the email ID so that we can, get them registered for the library.
All noted,
I
Diksha.
hope you're finding it useful, the library.
Anil
Yes.
is
Uh,
using, he mentioned.
yeah, he's using it, but Vijendra and Raja Kumar has
Also,
passed for link to the library.
I'll share all of this with Sajid and we'll ensure that these people are onboarded for the library.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And Sajid yesterday shared that it's because it's a funded library, but the kind of cost it caters to for a particular person to access it is around 9,000. But we gave it all free to the people who are working in the social sector. Uh, Not because it's completely free and limited, but also because we put an effort to make it more inclusive and make it more open for people who are working towards strengthening the ecosystem. So just letting you know, because it's important to know that it's not completely matlab, how to utilize that resource which is available already and someone has worked for you to get it accessible for everyone. uh, and I literally respect that uh, of the institute I work for, because these are the kind of things we don't see much happening around, and we don't even find resources which are relevant and which are approximately the ones which we are looking for creating our proposals, for creating our reports. So that this particular library is literally very enriching from that sort. So make full use of it and
Also,
take
adding
a better.
to what just Sanjana said, Sajid will also be taking an inaugural session, maybe an orientation session for you on how to use this library so that it's not just a wastage of effort and resources, but you are actually able to make the most of it in the end.
And we do that regularly, that we do these sessions regularly for people to
Yes,
understand how to use the library.
yes.
So once you're registered for it, you'll get the link on when the session is happening. Apart from that, just wanted to add a little more on, yes, absolutely, the library. There's a huge cost that we have for the library, but the aim is to be inclusive. We want this, resource of the library to be available to everybody, irrespective of, the cost that comes. Also, apart from that, please go through our website. There are a lot of frameworks available which are free of cost. There are a lot of case studies. Vijendra, you're talking about case studies. There are case studies on talent management. There are case studies on different aspects which are there. All this is open source for people to read. The models or the frameworks are free to use. Like I was talking about the data maturity model, it is free of cost. There are other aspects which are there, other models which are there, which anyone can pick up and use. So please go through our website and look for this information. And every year, every few months, we publish new information, which is accessible to everyone. So please make full use of all this. All right, great. Thank you everybody for joining in. Have a good day. Bye bye.